Here's the hyperlapse that you get when you do it straight out of the camera using the DJI Mini 3 Pro. And this is the same exact hyperlapse but modified with Lightroom and Final Cut. And I'm going to show you how to do that right now. Hi, my name is Jaime. I'm a freelance photographer and filmmaker out of Miami, Florida. I do a lot of short form content and drone visuals. So if that's something that you like, I invite you to check out my Instagram profile. Link's gonna be down below. I'm pretty active on Instagram. This right here is the DJI Mini 3 Pro. It's an amazing little drone, and especially for doing hyperlapses. I like to do nighttime hyperlapses, and the hyperlapses that you get out of this drone are really nice, but you can make them even better. The software that I use is Adobe Lightroom and Final Cut Pro. Having said that, you can use any type of video editing program like Premiere, DaVinci. One last thing before you do this, make sure that you comply with FAA rules. To fly at night, you actually need one of these, which is an LED light that flashes really bright. This here could be seen by a plane or helicopter from 3 miles away. So make sure that you put this on your drone before you fly it at night. Alright, enough of that. So this is me launching off. I'm in Sunny Isles, which is a really cool area of Miami. Actually, Miami Beach, that has tons of cars and high rises, so it's really cool. If you want to do hyperlapses, it's really nice to have an area that has a lot of movement. So moving vehicles and high rises are great. So as you can see, I was trying to do the hyperlapse initially in vertical mode, but unfortunately you cannot do hyperlapses in vertical mode, which is kind of a bummer. So scroll down and select hyperlapse. From there you select the type of hyperlapse that you want to do. I like using the waypoints hyperlapse type. And from here you're gonna set your waypoints. Now what I recommend is you first frame the shot that you really like, understanding that if you're gonna do vertical, you want to sort of frame your best part of the shot in the middle. Alright, also before you go to the second waypoint, make sure that you have your settings to shoot raw. Very important. Your ISO should always be set at 100, do not go higher than that, and your shutter speed should be at about 1.3 seconds. That's good enough for a street light. I like to keep my white balance under 4000 Kelvin, and for the final resolution, it really doesn't matter whether you choose 1080p or 4K because we're going to be using the raw pictures for our hyperlapse. Alright, so now let's go to your second waypoint, maintaining a good framing angle. Then you're going to set the settings for the time lapse. I like to do time lapses between 8 seconds and 10 seconds. So it really is going to depend also on the battery. So as you could tell, my battery was not fully charged, and the drone was telling me that I could only do about 7 seconds, and that's shooting every 4 seconds, giving a little bit of time for the cars to pass by and look. So that's our sequence right there, and I'm gonna speed through this, but basically this took about 10 minutes, give or take. So a lot of factors here. Some of them gonna be the wind and your battery levels, but yeah, a total of 175 photos were taken, and drew battery all the way down to 18%, which was just about enough for me to fly back to where I launched off at the parking lot. Alright, so from here we'll just catch this bad boy and go and jump in the computer. Okay, so I'm back in my computer here with Lightroom. By the way, this is Lightroom Classic, not Lightroom, the regular Lightroom that's web-based. And so these are all the pictures that we imported from the SD card, and this is the hyperlapse that comes out straight out of the camera. So this is a video that it's made within the drone. But we're gonna modify all the raw files. We're gonna click on Command A to select all the files, then we're gonna click on Develop. And here in the Develop tab, I like to start by clicking on the Auto button right next to the tone. That gives you a baseline color grade for the photo, and then from there you start tweaking it. I like to desaturate the yellows a little bit, and like my colors a little bit on the cool side. I'll play around the hue depending on how much I want to get rid of the yellows and the oranges. So I don't really like the tungsten colors of the streets. I also modify a little bit the texture and clarity, punch up the colors, the saturation and vibrance. How you modify this photo is going to be very subjective and up to you, and so it's really up to your taste. You could also punch up the sharpening a little bit. You don't really need noise reduction because you're at ISO 100. And once you're satisfied with the photo, you check all the levels and you're gonna click on the sync button that's on the bottom. What that's gonna do is gonna sync up all the photos. Make sure that you have all those check marks selected and click synchronize. That synchronizes all the pictures that you have selected. Now you're gonna right click on any of those photos. We're gonna export all of them at the same time. For the settings for the export, I already have a predefined preset that's specific for hyperlapse JPEGs, which I put them in a subfolder. Do not add it to the catalog, and then you click on export, let it do its thing. It's gonna export all the pictures and open up in a folder. Now open Final Cut and create a new project, name it whatever you want. And for the video format, go ahead and put a custom 36 by 2650. That's gonna give you use of the entire sensor. Then drag all the photos that you exported into your timeline. Now we have to change the duration of those photos to 1 frame per second. So you're gonna click on modify, change duration, and then you're gonna click the number 1, which is gonna change the blue number right under the image to a blue 1. So that compressed the timeline, and now we have 1 photo per frame. Therefore we have a working hyperlapse. Okay, so now we're ready to export the hyperlapse, and these are the settings that you want to use. H.264, 4K. Now what you can see here is that the hyperlapse needs to be stabilized. So what we do is we open up the file that we just exported, delete all the other pictures that we had on that same timeline, and then we put the exported file. That exported file, now we could stabilize it using the stabilizer that's within Final Cut. Run it a few times, make sure that it's smooth and that it's looking good. Now you could export it once again, rename it to stabilize, at least that's what I do, and there you have it. A high quality hyperlapse that's been color graded, stabilized, and it uses the entire sensor. It's much better than the hyperlapse that comes out straight out of the camera. Alright, so I hope that was useful. Now for the next video, I'm going to show you how I grabbed that hyperlapse and created this IG reel that you see right here. So I used some effects, a couple transitions, and some keyframing so that you can see the entire thing in a vertical format. So stay tuned for that one. It's coming next. And if you found this content valuable, I really appreciate it if you hit that like and subscribe button. Also, if there's any comments or suggestions that you may have, make sure you drop them in the comments, including any future videos that you would like me to do. Thanks, everyone.